And in that sense, I'm actually very, very happy to introduce the first speaker to you, Mr. Jonathan Fleming. We just saw the video of the corporate sponsor. Mr. Fleming serves as president of ST Global, and he's responsible for leading the company's efforts to provide turnkey screening solutions for airports, seaports, border crossings, and critical infrastructure for governments and the private industry worldwide. Welcome, John.
Good morning.
Jonathan, let's go to the first question. What do you think is driving digital transformation for customers at the moment?
Well, I think we've heard a lot about that so far this morning. Even before the pandemic, I think that at least single window systems and other digitization processes were underway. I think what the pandemic may have highlighted is the digital processing of inspection. And a lot of what I deal with day in and day out with S2 Global is the inspection process, and digitizing that process and making that data available into single window or other trade systems to facilitate trade quicker with less touch.
Indeed, thank you very much. That's a part of the safety of the officer, actually, and also the safety and security of the employees in business. Technology can assist us that we don't touch the goods anymore, we don't meet the people anymore.
Yeah, I think actually, yeah, you're right. I think it does that. It also allows you to minimize your staffing footprint at an inspection point, where you can do remote analysis, where you're combining a number of technologies and providing that data at a remote analysis center so that you're protecting that staff, minimizing the footprint that is actually exposed to the trade conveyance itself. And in a digital environment, it allows you to be a lot more effective, efficient, and change your inspection protocols without a paperwork change. So it would, for example, I heard speakers earlier today talking about medicines and PPE and other types of trade where you might have an expedited process. And this would allow you to do that if you've fully digitized your inspection process as well.
It sounds all nice to digitize the whole process, but and there are a number of ways that customs administrations actually can begin the digital transformation. But in your experience, what would be the most important for organizations to consider first? Where to start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one, from an inspection standpoint, and again, that's where I spend most of my time is on the inspection side. From an inspection standpoint, sort of identifying what your possible processes could be. I heard about sort of continuity planning and planning for the future. And so looking at what data you want to collect, what is important as far as as part of your inspection regime, what is important to you, and what sort of devices does that include? Sometimes it's a new technology beyond sort of your typical imaging systems or non-intrusive inspection systems to include sort of RFID or facial recognition or QR codes or weigh scale information or decontamination and elevated body temperature and sort of other biochecks that may be done as a result of the pandemic that I think we'll be dealing with for some time in the future. All these things, the collection of that data, the analysis of that data, and then the sharing of that data and those processes into a single window system, all will help not only modernize, make more efficient, increase the inspection capacity. I think you said it best. Even though trade may have adjusted and slowed during this pandemic period of time, the bad guys certainly didn't. And I think a lot of customs agencies around the world struggled with maintaining an inspection regime given the pandemic and the reduced staffing and the danger to the staff. And I think that's why when you look back on what's happened this last year, planning for the future and digitizing those inspection technologies is going to be really important just to keep trade going, but to keep inspection processes and percentages up as well.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, you already mentioned it a little bit. It depends whether you're concerned with goods or whether you're concerned with people, with immigration, and but in both cases, the staff themselves need to be protected. We see customs administrations have different responsibilities in the framework of law enforcement. Part is focused on revenue generation, revenue collection, cargo inspections. The other one's on immigration. Do you see difference in the technology that helps the agencies to fulfill the mandates? And so focusing on cargo, focusing on immigration, you already mentioned a little bit in temperaturing equipment, which is more focused on immigration. But in general, when you talk about data collection, would it be different?
Well, I think there's an opportunity here to collect that data into a platform that is flexible. I think there are certainly a number of agencies or even subsets of customs agencies, organizations that need specific data to do their work. And collecting that data in a format and into a platform that can be shared not only amongst the customs organization, but sister organizations as well, law enforcement, other trade organizations, and even the private sector to some degree, hospitals, et cetera, medical systems, is really key. And I think we have seen sort of moves clearly with the WCO to sort of homogenize formats, data formats with regards to non-intrusive inspection, UFF formats, et cetera, for imaging. But obviously the inspection processes have gone way beyond just imaging alone, and a platform that is able to gather all that data and then share those data elements that are specific to the needs of each stakeholder, and do that in an automated way, I think is very important. I think also a platform that allows you to augment or modify your workflows. You know, a lot of integration platforms are hard coded in a way that you sort of develop a process and a consultation, and that's the process that you stick with. And then something like a pandemic hits that you're not anticipating, which may change your process significantly. And going back in with consultants at that point and rerouting where that data goes and how it goes there is a little too late. It's not the right time to do that. So a platform that not only can gather all the data and share it, but also can be seamless enough to modify its workflow midstream, or have, you know, dozens of predetermined workflows so that that information is distributed effectively depending on the commodity, or depending on the threat level, or depending on the risk of the goods or people.
You actually already mentioned one of the challenges in such a platform is about the data structures. I'm of course aware of the unified file format initiative that's running under the WCO for NAI images. And we're looking at different data structures, and we see that businesses have their own structures, the governments have their different structures, and it's still quite a challenge to line them up all in a way that they can, let's say, be compared or talk to each other. So we're still setting up all kind of libraries to identify different data structures. There's also quite some challenge to go for the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I would agree. I think UFF is certainly a big step, and that continues to evolve and add more data elements to it itself, which is very important. But I think the other types of, I guess I could use the word interrogation by various sensors, whether those are radiation portal monitors or a number of things that may fall outside that UFF format, are also important to include into an integration platform and share. And we've had really good luck, I think, with our current customer base and adapting to some of these challenges that have affected customs organizations, border crossing, trade and clearance and inspection processes, to be able to adapt to some of this, or add new sensors, like I said, whether it's elevated body temperature or decontamination, or some of the things that had not been considered previously, and sort of move those seamlessly into the platform and share that information as well.
this all part of, let's say, the digital transformation of customs administration, administrations. I compare digital transformation of customs administration sometimes a little bit with data sharing in commercial supply chains. We all know that it's needed, and we all know that it's of high value. Nevertheless, we don't do it. What is actually the biggest incentive for customs to move up, to scale up this transformation? Speedy.
Yeah, I think it is a daunting task. It is not only to understand what is possible and then adapt your operation to that possibility. Oftentimes it's done the other way. Oftentimes it's this is how we do things, and we want a platform that will fall in line with that. I think a lot of our customers have found that when they see the possibilities and what a change in operational tempo a platform can provide to them, they start reimagining their deployment of staff, their training of staff, the location of staff, all these other things that sort of fall down with that. So I would say, I think the first step is to sit down with subject matter experts that can explain what an integration platform can do, and then reimagine how your operation could be most efficient with the use of that. I would also say, think big when you're doing something like this. And try to include as many elements as you possibly can, and don't maybe focus on your specific and current inspection regime only. Think about the future and how adaptive that is. And I obviously I think there's going to be there's a whole community out there that have legacy inspection platforms that may not be compliant or capable of sort of UFF transformation. And so looking at platforms that allow for some of the legacy systems as well as the more modern systems that will be UFF compliant, as well as all the other devices that you may be deploying. For example, the biosensors that I keep mentioning, like EBT or Decon, or those sorts of things that are becoming more prevalent now.
We could stay discussing for hours, but the session is only 10 minutes. We're up and we have to move to the next speaker. Jonathan, thank you very much for your input and for sharing your insights. And hopefully on a live event we'll meet.
Thank you.
And we immediately